Hello, Internet. It is Adam Malik Aaron. Welcome back to my holiday 2019 box office predictions. And finally, after a month of consistently awful box office, we now have a blockbuster that will single handedly save the entire month from complete and utter oblivion. And that movie is, of course, Frozen 2. And we're going to talk about the pros and cons of Frozen 2. So let's jump right into it. Pros: this is the sequel to Frozen. Pretty sure you all already knew that. And for the few people on planet Earth who don't know what Frozen is, let me give you a history lesson. See, back in the faraway land of 2013, a movie released by Disney came out, and it was called Frozen, right? And this movie, it went through some problems in the production process. Heck, they had to rework a decent chunk in the movie like a mere month or two before release. And I know you've probably heard of this thing with reshoots, reshoots all the time, but they're mostly for live action movies, right? Because it's easier to do it. But this is a animated film, so it's a lot harder because it's doing an animated movie is so time consuming. It takes years and years. So yeah, that must have been stressful. So despite all these problems, the movie came out and it opened very well. Opened to 67 million for the 3-day weekend, 93 for the 5-day weekend. It broke some Thanksgiving records, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's doing good. It's pretty good. It's all right. It won't do that much better." But no. Oh no. No one, not even Disney, knew how big Frozen was going to get. Because over the next, few months, the movie went from a hit to a smash to a full-blown phenomenon. And I was there to witness it all. It was crazy how big the movie was getting. Like, I remember seeing the movie a decent month after it came out, and you think like after a month, the hype would die down, but no, it was only increasing. That when I went to the theater to see it, that theater was full. Like, it was the biggest deal back in late 2013, especially early 2014. And I think the main reason for that is because of this one song that was very popular. It was incredibly catchy. It eventually got annoying because people simply wouldn't let it go. Yeah, I'm so clever. And yeah, it became just a juggernaut for Disney. Right, sold probably billions in merchandise. And became like it was considered at the time like the next, classic from Disney, on par with some of their Disney princess classics, like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Mulan, on par with those. So, yeah. So being a sequel to that, I mean, there's no real cons to it. There is kind of a con, but I'll explain it later. But overall, like Frozen 2 barely has any cons. It's mostly pros, and the main pro is that it's a sequel to one of the biggest movies of all time. And for a while, it was the biggest animated movie ever worldwide. I mean, technically, The Lion King 2019 beat it, but nobody likes that movie. Everyone wishes that movie never existed, and I'm gonna pretend it doesn't exist. Because that movie was disgusting and a slap to the face of source material. But we're not talking about that abomination of a film. We're talking about Frozen 2. So that's the first pro, the big pro. Second pro is this movie has no real competition. I mean, what does it have to face off against besides Beautiful Day in a Neighborhood? Like what? Charlie's Angels? Playing with Fire? I mean, there's Ford v Ferrari, but that's for a completely different audience. So this movie has the whole marketplace for itself, and it's not for just this weekend. It's for the next few weeks has the marketplace to itself. And it won't deal with any real competition until like mid-December when it goes up against Jumanji Next Level and Rise of Skywalker. So that's great for Frozen 2. The next pro is the reviews. They're not amazing, but they're solid enough. They're acceptable enough. And I'm pretty sure like the fans of the first Frozen, they're not gonna care if the movie's better or worse than the original, because they're gonna show up anyway. You know it, and they're probably gonna like it about as much as this one. So yeah. Another pro. This is a Disney movie. Disney has dominated 2019, and I hate to be crude here, but it's made 2019 its bitch, for lack of better words. I mean, you have movies like Captain Marvel, Endgame, Aladdin, Toy Story 4, Lion King. You know, all those made $1 billion. And the only real flop Disney's had this year was Dumbo, and that was because it just didn't look appealing. And Maleficent 2, it barely escaped bomb territory thanks to strong overseas grosses. So, 2019's been, pretty much flawless for Disney, except for the whole Fox merger, all the movies that bombed because of that. But we're talking just Disney by itself. We're not talking about Fox. Right? And another pro or con. Well, an interesting fact is that no animated movie has ever opened above 100 million in November. Not one. Like the benchmark for it is The Incredibles, the first one back in 2004, with like 70 million. And Frozen 2 will decimate that easily because, its ticket sales, early numbers are incredibly strong. And this will easily be one of the top openers of November, on par with, Catching Fire and New Moon and Harry Potter. Like, and in those movies, back when the young adult genre was a thing, like that was like the big time. And the fact that this animated movie will open on par with those is really impressive, especially for the time of the year. But there is one potential con, but I don't see it happening, is that some people might question this film's existence. I mean, we all know why the sequel was made, because money. First Frozen made 1.2 billion worldwide. Who's gonna say no to a sequel to that, right? So the reason why Warner Brothers is thinking about making a sequel to Joker, because that made $1 billion. Although I've heard conflicting reports saying it'll happen, it won't happen. It's all kind of up in the air, but I'm pretty sure they're thinking about it. They have to be thinking about it, especially if it wins awards. Because with Frozen 2. Some might question its reason to exist, and it just feels like, yeah, well, it won't be a Maleficent 2, because no one was asking for Maleficent 2. It won't be like that, but some people might still be a little cynical about its existence. And another potential pro is that, Disney animated sequels, they're so rare. I mean, I know there's the direct-to-DVD sequels, but we don't talk about those ever, except maybe Lion King 2. But that's about it, because none of those sequels are canon, in my opinion. So, and the only real animated sequel they've had recently, in theaters, was Wreck-It Ralph 2, and that movie only did kind of modestly compared to some other Disney animated movies. Like movies I haven't mentioned, like Tangled, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana. Didn't do as well as any of those. But the Wreck-It Ralph brand is obviously a lot smaller than Frozen. So it's a lot less broad than Frozen. So that's not going to be an issue at all. So yeah, opening weekend, this will open above 100 million no matter what. And I think a really good number it can hit is 130 million which would rank it as one of the biggest animated debuts ever. I think the only movies that are bigger than that are Finding Dory and Incredibles 2. Again, all from Disney. So that should tell you a lot about how the industry has changed. Because like for the longest time, Shrek the Third, yes, Shrek the Third, yeah, the bad Shrek movie, held the record with like 121 million. It held that for 9 years until it was beaten by Finding Dory in 2016, and then that was beaten by Incredibles 2 in 2018. So yeah, when it comes to like animated sequels, like if it's from Disney, people will show up, especially if it's something that people truly love that has like a massive following behind it. So yeah, opening weekend, 130 million overall. I'm gonna say a little above 400. It'll do on par with the first one domestically. Worldwide, I'm not so sure. But I definitely see this making $1 billion easy. And yeah, that's it for Frozen 2. So what's next, or really what's left of November? 2 more movies, Knives Out and Queen and Slim. And that's it. November's over. Then I'll have to start doing a recap, which is going to be just fun. It's just going to be just dandy talking about all the movies that bombed. It's going to remind me of doing the June recap. It's exactly like the June recap. It's honestly kind of depressing, but fun at the same time. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. Want to go check out my past predictions. I have a playlist of holiday 2019, fall 2019, summer 2019, and as I've already said, gotta do a November recap. And yeah, that's about it. And I am out.